As India marks the 76th anniversary of partition, the National Capital opens the doors to the world's second Partition Museum, which emphasizes on the tumultuous period and fading memories of that time. Let's take you on a tour of this museum with our report.
A checkbook dating back to a time when Sialkot was yet to become Faisalabad. A joint Indo-Pak passport issued in 1955. And an iron vessel transported from Multan to Delhi. These are no longer a motley collection of possessions of the lakhs of people who were displaced during partition. They are now physical reminders of India's partition in 1947.
Pain, trauma, courage, memories and loss. Partition evokes a scene of emotions. The India-Pakistan partition was not just a moment in history, but a phenomenon that is still engraved into the minds and home of people. But these memories have found a new home now in the form of artwork and tribute at the recently opened Partition Museum at the Dara Shikoh Library in New Delhi.
Delhi's Partition Museum is the second of its kind in the whole world after the one in Amritsar. The attempt is to portray partition in its entirety.
It is a People's Museum in Amritsar and it is a People's Museum here in Delhi as well. But in Amritsar we were determined to do it because it was 70 years since the partition when we set it up in 2017. Somehow we were determined that for the 75th anniversary of India's independence and partition, we would have this legacy project.
The entrance leads us to a paper mache sculpture of a horse carrying a burden of skeletons and bones. It portrays the anguish and the pain of millions who were forced to abandon their homes. The museum has 7 galleries, with the main entrance featuring a giant black and white portrait of a small refugee kid sitting on the walls of Purana Killa, taken by American documentary photographer Margaret Burke White. The first gallery on independence and partition is filled with enormous cutouts of newspaper clippings, photographs, maps, stamps, documents, and information boards that depict the events that occurred in the country in the years leading up to the partition and until 1947. The gallery on refugees show widespread relocation through artifacts and a massive refugee tent that tells the story of how more than 2 families stayed inside a tent of this size. Behind them were their shattered lives and the settled home they had abandoned, and ahead of them were the hardships of rebuilding their lives. The gallery on hope and courage takes a different approach, depicting how individuals in India and Pakistan continue to respect and protect their ties. This section of the museum has items given by Pakistani inhabitants to the 2nd generation of partition survivors, as well as replicas of sculptures given by Indians to Pakistani citizens. The walls of this museum echo the tragic tale of the India-Pakistan partition. The wounds are healing, but a scar still remains. The pain still exists.